I hate to have to report this. The breaking news just into CNN is that actor Robin Williams is dead at the age of 63 from an apparent suicide. Robin Williams passed away this morning. He had been battling severe depression of late. This is a tragic and sudden loss. The family respectfully asks for their privacy, and they grieve during this very difficult time.
Robin Williams passed away on August 11th, 2014. His legacy will always be remembered, and he will always be cherished by many. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Rather than cutting up all over the place, I'm going to try to just talk to you guys one-on-one for a couple of minutes here. I do want to apologize now if I do take a breath or a moment to think. It's because I'm not cutting, and I feel like today's video deserves to be sort of natural and not edited so much. So that was my last cut. Welcome to today's video. Robin Williams' career spanned a long time. A lot of people knew him as the guy who would make you laugh and maybe even make you cry in some scenarios. There are a couple movies that I saw of his that really impacted my life, and obviously the big ones we'll talk about, Dead Poets Society and Good Will Hunting, but I'll talk about the early times that I knew Robin Williams and sort of the actor that he was. For me, he was always the Disney guy, the guy who was always, jumping up and down, doing some weird things. He was in Aladdin and whatnot. What a movie to be in, right? A guy who was made for that role. And, Mrs. Doubtfire is obviously a childhood memory for many people, including myself. And it's sort of an impact on my life that I didn't really realize at the time. And as we approach 10 years since his passing, I was 14 at the time. I didn't understand sort of who he was and the impact that he left behind. And it was sort of surreal to realize that someone like that had passed away, especially in a manner that is hard to talk about. But I feel like we need to understand that as an aspect of his life, because he was such a charitable and generous person who gave back to so many people. And yet, he wasn't all right by himself. And it's an impact that I want to talk about on this channel, because in the last couple of videos I've really spent a lot of time sort of trying to understand where we are in our world and what we are trying to do, what impact we might leave, and how movies sort of help us feel a certain way and their importance in the world that we live. And I've done that with a couple of episodes recently, and today it's just I wanted to sit down and talk about a man who really spent his life doing that, giving back to us. And I wanted to just respectfully sort of talk about that. And on the channel we have spoken about the Good Will Hunting episode. It's a bit of a podcast style. If you want to go check it out, you can go take a look at it. It's on the channel. Let's talk about his impact here, because at 14 for me, he was somebody who really did make a difference in the world. And I don't think I really understood it at the time. I remember when I heard about his passing that it was sort of surreal and an unreal moment for me, because I felt this sort of pit in my stomach that something was wrong, but I didn't really understand why at the time, and I didn't understand why I felt that way. As I got older and I watched more and more of his movies, and I watched and rewatched some of his older stuff, especially Good Will Hunting and Dead Poets Society, I just sort of started to understand, it's somebody who creates art like this and it participates in movies that can be so impactful. That is why we feel that way. That is exactly the reason why we feel grief for these actors who we may never have talked to, who we may never have met. I never met Robin Williams, but yet somehow I feel a strange connection to him in that matter. That's why I always find it funny when people online criticize, these teenagers or whatever it is, loving Taylor Swift or whatever it is, and they either think, you shouldn't be so attached to celebrities, they don't even know who you are. But it's not about the connection with the celebrity on a personal level as much as it's the connection that their art brings to your world. And that's what's important to understand. Robin Williams, I didn't know him. I didn't have a personal connection with him. That's why I'm not speaking on the character of Robin Williams. I'm speaking on the art that he left behind, because that's what's impacted my life. For example, obviously Dead Poets Society. That movie has just constantly brought me back to the realization that there is so much more to life than just simplicity of making money and just standing there, waiting for that paycheck, or, just working every single day of your life and not really trying to make a difference in the world or find something in the world that makes you happy. Carpe diem. But no, Dead Poets Society is one of those movies that you just kind of go, wow, all right, you know what, this is great. It's makes you really realize that life is here and it's now, and we have to take control of it. And you know, Good Will Hunting does it too. It's a great movie to talk about, for one, men's mental health. It's extremely important to talk about. I think that's, you know, sort of the theme of today's episode. And, you know, Good Will Hunting is another story of just being able to navigate life, especially when you're young and you're trying to figure out everything and you're trying to understand your purpose and your place in life. It's not very straightforward, and I know it can be scary. And those movies for me have really taught me a lot. And, you know, to have Robin Williams perform in both of those movies is sort of my the realization that, you know, he really did make art for the people, and he's somebody who understood the impact and themes of these stories, truly. And it's crazy to think about sort of that realization again, that I didn't know the guy, but the movies that he produced and the movies that he was in were just so impactful to me and to so many people that you don't really realize until, you know, they're passing. And I felt like today I wanted to talk about a little bit, and it's just so strange. It really is. Anyways, I'm not going to continue to rant here, or talk, I should say. Maybe rant's not the right word. I'm just going to leave the video here as it is. I wanted to bring up, you know, what I was thinking about today, this morning when I woke up, just thinking about, you know, sort of these movies that I really love and the movies that I really cherish so much, and why we sort of feel these connections with it. And then I thought about Robin Williams because I had watched Dead Poets Society recently, and then I also realized that it was almost 10 years since his passing. So I thought, you know, like maybe I should just talk about it a little bit here, in a very different manner. So thanks for watching today's video. I'm just gonna leave it there. I'll see you guys soon.